Alright, thank you so much for going down memory lane with me. Let me take you back and tell you a story, fishing in Canada. I believe it started in maybe the early late 70s. My papa Lowell, my uncle George A. Swisher, and my uncle Herbert Swisher, Herbert J. Swisher, Uncle Herb, and I believe it was my dad. Dan had went a couple of times with him as well. A few other people had went with him at many other times. Went to Canada, and they crossed to the Canadian border. Went ahead and got, I think, cabins and stuff, and we on boats and everything. And he went out fishing for muskie, fishing for walleye, fishing. And they would go and they'd fish, and they'd spend like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, I believe it was, up there in Canada, and they would sit there and they would go fishing. My papa Lowell, the most remarkable man I ever met. The man, being partially blind, like I said, could do it all, and fishing was one of his favorite things to do, especially going up to Canada and fish. He loved to fish. Papa Lowell was like I said, he was remarkable. My dad, Dan, my uncle George, like I said, and my uncle Herb went up there as well. And like I said, they all liked to fish. Dad and Papa Lowell had a real close relationship, even after him and my mom had divorced back in the early or late stages of 1980. So they basically were still held really close to one another. Did my dad and Papa Lowell. Like I said, my dad went with them 2 or 3 times, and to up there to Canada to fish. Black flies were a big issue up there. Black flies would bite you and really bad, and leave marks like kind of like a mosquito. Believe it or not, really, black flies are really bad. Papa Lowell said one time that the black flies were so bad one time that it was kind of hard for them to fish. They had to wear long sleeve shirts to kind of keep things under control, so that they could fish and not sit there and shake around and the boat and everything, so that they could actually do what they had to do to try to catch some fish instead of worry about the black flies and biting them on the arms and everything. Like I said, it was just a great time fishing. Papa Lowell and Uncle George and Uncle Herb done it a lot. Like I said, my dad Dan had went over up there many times with him. A lot of other people, I'm sure reminiscents, went up there with him as well. But like I said, that's all that I really know exactly who went up. And I mean, my stepmom Sharon, after my dad and my stepmom Sharon had gotten together, I think she went up with them as well. And my Uncle George tells a story about that, but I know they're probably looking down on me now and laughing at it about this story. At least Uncle George is anyway, because Uncle George used to tell the story really well, and I won't go into that story because let's just say that Uncle George tells it better than I can. So him and Papa Lowell's probably looking down on me right now, and him and Papa Lowell's probably just laughing about it. Nonetheless, though, fishing in Canada, like I said, they did it, like I said, the early 70s, and did all the way up to, I think, about like maybe 1982, 83, possibly 84 was their last time they went to Canada. Somewhere around maybe 82, 83, I would say. Nonetheless, they used to love to fish in Canada. Part of the good old days. As Papa Lowell and Uncle George are up there beyond the pearly gates, doing their own little fishing, their own little dealing and wheeling and dealing. I love them, and I miss them. Thank you so much for going down memory lane with me. I'll catch you next time.